The finale drops in 6 days. Will Byers just got powers that could destroy 11. Millie Bobby Brown's awkward interview reactions have the internet convinced 11 dies. And episode 4 changed everything. But here's what nobody's talking about. This isn't about superpowers. This isn't about monsters. The Duffer Brothers are telling a story about trauma, about what happens when the victim becomes the weapon, and why the character who dies won't be who you think. Welcome to 25th Frame. I'm about to show you what episode 4 actually revealed, why Will's powers are more dangerous than Vecna, why Millie's reactions prove the ending is darker than Game of Thrones, and the one scene everyone missed that explains who actually survives. If you stay until the end, you'll know exactly who dies, who becomes the villain, and why this finale will break the internet in 7 days. But first, smash that like button, because this video is about to get age restricted for spoilers, and I need you to save it now before YouTube buries it. Let's go. Act 1, The Twist Nobody Saw Coming. Episode 4, The Sorcerer. Let me paint the scene for you. Will Byers is in the Upside Down, again. But this time, something's different. He's not hiding, he's not crying, he's not the scared kid we've known for 4 seasons. He's standing in front of Vecna. And his hands are glowing. Not 11's telekinetic energy. Not red mind flayer corruption. Gold. Pure golden light. And Vecna, the monster who's been terrorizing Hawkins, who killed Max, who nearly destroyed the world, looks at Will and says one word. Brother. The screen cuts to black. Twitter exploded. TikTok went insane. Reddit crashed. Because the Duffer Brothers just revealed what we should have seen coming all along. Will Byers isn't connected to the Upside Down because he was a victim. He's connected because he was chosen. The clues we missed. Let's rewind. Season 1. Will is taken, but not killed. The Demogorgon had dozens of victims. Why keep Will alive? Season 2. The Mind Flayer possesses Will, but when they exercise it, Will survives. Nobody else possessed by the Mind Flayer survived. Season 3. Will feels the Mind Flayer before anyone else. He's the early warning system. Why? Season 4. Vecna's victims all have trauma. But Will, who has more trauma than anyone, isn't targeted. Why? Because Vecna wasn't hunting Will. He was waiting for him. Episode 4 reveals Will was marked, not by the Demogorgon, by the Upside Down itself. The parallel dimension doesn't just corrupt. It chooses champions. Vecna was the first. 1. Will is the second. The Sorcerer. And his powers don't come from 11's genetic experiments. They come from something older. Something the Upside Down gave him willingly. Now pause. Comment right now. Did you see this coming, or did episode 4 blindside you? I need to know. What Will can do. Let me break down what we've seen so far. Will's powers aren't telekinesis. They're reality manipulation. In episode 4, he doesn't throw objects. He unmakes them. A Demogorgon charges him. He raises his hand. The creature doesn't explode. It folds. Like reality is collapsing around it. Vecna attacks. Will creates a shield, but it's not a force field. It's a bubble where the Upside Down's rules don't apply. And here's the terrifying part. When Will uses his powers, the golden light spreads. It doesn't just protect him, it changes the environment. Dead vines start growing flowers. The red sky turns blue. The decay reverses. Will isn't just fighting the Upside Down. He can heal it, which means he can also control it. Why this makes him more dangerous than 11. 11's power is destruction. She breaks, bleeds, kills. Will's power is transformation. He can rewrite the rules. Think about it. 11 fights monsters by overpowering them. Will fights monsters by making them not monsters anymore. 11 closes gates by force. Will could make the gate irrelevant by merging dimensions. 11's power comes from rage and pain. Will's power comes from acceptance. And that's why the Duffer Brothers have been building to this. Because the final battle isn't about who's stronger. It's about what kind of world Will chooses to create. And if you've been paying attention to his arc, you know Will has been struggling with identity, belonging, and whether he even belongs in the normal world. What if his solution isn't to save Hawkins? What if it's to make Hawkins into something else? Drop a comment. Would you trust Will with that power? Or is he about to become the real villain? Act 2. The 11 Problem. Millie Bobby Brown's reactions. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Millie Bobby Brown has been doing press for the finale, and every time someone asks about 11, she does this. She freezes. Her smile drops. She looks at the interviewer like they just asked her to spoil Endgame. And then she says something like, "I think fans will be satisfied. It's very emotional. I cried for days." That's Emilia Clarke. Jon kills Daenerys energy. That's "I know something you don't and it's gonna hurt." The internet is convinced 11 dies in the finale. And honestly, the evidence is overwhelming. The foreshadowing. Let's look at what the show has been screaming at us. Season 4 ending. 11 couldn't defeat Vecna. Even with Max's sacrifice, she only wounded him. Season 5, Episode 1. 11's powers are weaker. She's exhausted. Brenner's experiments damaged her permanently. Episode 2. She tells Mike, "I don't know if I'm strong enough anymore." Episode 3. She tries to close a gate. She fails. For the first time ever. And Episode 4. While Will is glowing gold and rewriting reality, 11 is bleeding from her nose just trying to levitate a rock. The power gap is obvious. Will is ascending, 11 is fading. And the Duffer Brothers love tragic symmetry. 11's arc started with her as a weapon, a tool for violence. And despite everything, despite finding love and family and purpose, she's still defined by her power. What if her ending is finally being free of that power? What if dying is how she becomes just Elle, just a girl? I know, it's brutal. But it's also beautiful. And it's very Stranger Things. Save this video right now, because when the finale drops on December 31st and this happens, you're gonna want to come back and watch this again. The alternative worse than death. But here's the theory I think is even darker. What if 11 doesn't die? What if she loses her powers and survives? Think about it. 11 has never known life without powers. They're not just what she does, they're who she is. Her entire identity is built on being special, being the one who can save everyone. What happens when she can't anymore? What happens when Will is the powerful one and she's just normal? That's psychological horror. That's watching your purpose disappear. And that's the kind of trauma the Duffer Brothers love to explore. Maybe 11's ending isn't death. Maybe it's learning to live without being a superhero, which, honestly, might be harder. Comment below. Would you rather see 11 die heroically or live without powers? There's no right answer, but I need to know what you think. Act 3, the finale, nobody's ready for. What we know. Okay, let's talk facts. The finale drops December 31st, New Year's Eve. End of 2025, Netflix literally scheduled it so the world watches Stranger Things end as the year ends. That's not a coincidence. That's a statement. The runtime is 2 hours and 30 minutes. Feature film length? The Duffer Brothers said in interviews, "We wanted the finale to feel like the end of a saga, not just a season. That means big deaths, big sacrifices, big changes. And based on what we've seen in episodes 1 to 4, here's what's coming. The final battle. Vecna isn't the final villain. Episode 4 made that clear. When Will revealed his powers, Vecna called him brother. Which means Vecna and Will are two sides of the same coin. Chose corruption, became a monster. Chose. We don't know yet. The final battle isn't Will and Eleven versus Vecna. It's Will versus himself. Does he use his power to destroy the Upside Down and save Hawkins? Or does he use his power to merge the dimensions and create a better world? Because here's the thing. Will has been an outcast his whole life. Bullied, traumatized, never quite fitting in. The Upside Down is the only place where he feels powerful. What if the temptation isn't to be evil? What if it's to stay? Who dies? Based on Millie's reactions, Eleven's fate is sealed. But she won't be the only one. Steve has been getting hero moments all season. That's death flag energy. Joyce has been talking about finally leaving Hawkins. Nobody who says that survives. Hopper keeps saying, "This is my last fight." Hopper, buddy, stop. But here's who I think actually dies. Mike. Not because he's a hero, not because he sacrifices himself, but because his death is what forces Will to make the final choice. Think about it. Will loves Mike. Has loved him since they were kids. If Mike dies fighting Vecna, Will has a choice. Use his reality-bending power to bring Mike back by merging the Upside Down with Hawkins, creating a world where death doesn't matter. Or let Mike go and destroy the Upside Down forever, accepting loss. That's the choice. And whichever he picks defines the ending. If he brings Mike back, bittersweet ending, but the Upside Down is never fully gone. If he lets Mike die, tragic ending, but Hawkins is saved. Either way, someone you love doesn't make it. Drop a comment right now. Who do you think dies in the finale? And would you sacrifice Hawkins to save someone you love? Act 4. Why this matters. The Game of Thrones question. Everyone's asking, is this another Game of Thrones finale? Are the Duffer Brothers going to ruin the entire show in 2 hours? And here's my answer. No. But not because the ending will be happy. Because the Duffer Brothers have been building to this ending from Season 1, Episode 1. Game of Thrones failed because they rushed. They ignored setup. They made characters act out of character for shock value. Stranger Things has been planting Will's power arc for 4 seasons. They've been showing Eleven's exhaustion since Season 4. They've been building to a choice between saving the world and saving yourself. This isn't a twist for shock. This is the ending they always planned. And whether you like it or not, it will make sense. What happens after? Here's what I think the final scene will be. The Upside Down is gone, or transformed, or merged. Will is standing in the ruins of Hawkins, alone, because everyone he saved either died or moved on. And he realizes he saved the world, but he lost himself. Fade to black. No happy reunion, no 10 years later epilogue. Just the cost of heroism, and a generation of fans sobbing on New Year's Eve. If I'm right, send this video to everyone you know, because they need to be prepared. The real message. But here's what the Duffer Brothers are actually saying. Stranger Things has always been about growing up. Season 1, childhood innocence. Season 2, losing that innocence. Season 3, first love, first heartbreak. Season 4, trauma, identity, belonging. Season 5, sacrifice, acceptance, letting go. Will's powers aren't about being special. They're about learning that being different is both a gift and a burden. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do is give up the power and just be human. That's the message. And in 7 days, we'll all cry about it together. The finale drops December 31st. Volume 2 drops tomorrow, December 25th, Christmas Day. Which means you have 48 hours before more spoilers flood the internet. If you want to go in fresh, watch now. If you want theories, predictions, and breakdowns, subscribe to 25th Frame, because I'll be covering every episode until the finale. Comment below, are you ready for this to end, or are you in denial like me? Like this video if you think Eleven dies. Save it if you think Will becomes the villain. Share it with your Stranger Things group chat, and start the debate. I'm 25th Frame, and I'll see you in the Upside Down. Or in the comments when we're all sobbing on New Year's Eve. Stay strange.